Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to create your own nice gradient when you're mixing two colors, and I will explain everything step by step. But before we get into that, I just wanted to let you know that the watercolor mixing ebook is now available on my website. This is an ebook, it's not a physical product. When you purchase it, you will immediately be able to download it to your tablet. You want to use something with color, and in this book I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mixtures of my absolute favorite watercolors together. The idea here is to inspire you and help you when you are on the lookout for new watercolors to add to your collection. I specifically chose mixtures that are a bit unpredictable, a bit surprising, and colors that are unique because all the standard stuff is already available out there. I didn't want to create something that already exists, but rather add on top of it. This is available in my shop. The link will be below. Also, I'm doing another Patreon run of 3 months. If you're a patron, you will get a 10% discount of this book. You'll get a code and you can immediately purchase it and enjoy all the mixtures. I will be talking more about this book and how I recommend using it, but today I want to show you how to create your own mixtures. Now, the template that I use in this book is also included in it, so you get an empty one, and it is also included in my printables. It's just a different size. So this book is a 8.5 by 11 letter size. Okay, just wanted to let you know a little bit of an update. Let's get into the color mixing. Hey everyone, today I want to show you how to create this gradient or mixture scale. So you can also do it yourself. I highly recommend doing this with your watercolors. It is time consuming, but you discover a lot of really interesting mixes. And today I'm working with, we have here on this side, Graham Cobalt Blue. And the first mixture that I did was with Daniel Smith Lunar Earth. So let me show you how I create these and what you want to pay attention to. Sometimes it takes time. It's not always super easy to get a nice gradient. You want each color to be slightly different than the other, but not too different. And we really want to create, you can see, kind of 5 mixtures more or less that are different, that show us the range. Now, I mostly use colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel or almost opposite each other on the color wheel. If you're doing this with colors that are close, let's say, yellow and red, or yellow and blue, or yellow and pink, sometimes it can be quite difficult to get 5 different mixes. So you might, want to adjust that, or don't be too hard on yourself if you can't get those distinctive colors, because sometimes there's just not enough range between colors. But if we're mostly dealing with complementary colors, I think it works quite well. So the next color I want to mix is Ginger Red from Aquarius. It's also like an interesting orange, and I think we'll get nice mixtures. Cobalts are usually granulating, and so I wanted to see what we can get. And Lunar Earth is a very, very granulating color, like all of the lunar colors from Daniel Smith. So I want to see what that does. Now, what you also need to do this properly, I would say, is a nice mixing space. So hopefully I can include everything in the frame, and you want clean water, a lot of clean water. So we're going to start with a pure color, and these 2 squares are meant for the pure colors, so we can see them as they are straight from the pan or tube. And now what we want to do is, I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to dip it in the cobalt. Where are you? There. It's a very, very intense color, and Graham paints are very, very gooey. The truth is I don't really like working with them because they're so gooey, but yeah, so just be mindful. And now what I'm going to do is, the first mixture that I'm going to do is generally kind of what I go for is the first mixture from each side is the pure color with just a teeny tiny touch of the other color. And then these two will be, you can still recognize the original color, but it will be a lot more muted, or there's just going to be more of the opposite color in it. So here you can see, so this is kind of, you can still see the lunar earth here, and you can still see the cobalt blue, but they're more muted. And then the middle one ideally will be the most kind of neutral one. And if they truly neutralize each other, sometimes it'll be almost impossible to tell which colors you actually used, because you'll get that very, very neutral gray or brown. So that would be the goal for the middle one. And how do I do that? I start with, I'm actually going to start with the orange because it's a little bit lighter, and the darker colors tend to take over. So I have my two colors here, and I'm just going to start mixing the orange and just slightly nudge the blue, and that's it. That's what I want for the first one. I just want a touch of it. Sometimes, many times, it'll look almost identical to the pure color, and I'm okay with that. Now I want to I'm slowly grabbing a bit more of the blue, and you can see here already I have a much more muted, I would say this is, I maybe have taken it a bit too far, very, very muted brown. So I just added a touch more of the orange. So these two are quite different, but we'll see how it goes. Actually, I'm not going to clean my brush. You also want to make sure that you're not adding too much water, because they will really dilute your mixtures. So if you don't have to clean your brush, don't. And if you have to clean it, then best is to keep a paper towel or a cotton cloth and just soak up the water, so you're not all the time adding more and more water. Okay, so this looks pretty neutral to me. Yes, you can see this is a very kind of grayish brown, and I can't really, just looking at that, I can't really tell which colors I used here. So now what I want is a very kind of muted blue. This is actually also pretty grayish, but I'm okay with that. And then I want just, I'll grab a little bit, I'll clean my brush, dab the excess water, and just grab a little bit more blue and get an almost pure version. That's it. This is how I create these gradients, and you can find this particular printable, or this kind of page, in my printables, and this will fit perfectly in a little golden book. Or I will also include one page in the ebook of the color mixing book, so you can print it out in a 8.5 by 11 paper, or if you have a editing software, you can resize it to whichever size you want. And I really like mixing colors on a large surface because I can see the entire gradient, and I also enjoy doing this when I'm painting because it just gives me the whole range. So I highly recommend also getting a palette or just a plate with a large mixing area. The ones with the tiny ones, I really, really don't like them because I can't do this there. So the next color I'm going to choose is, I think I will go with another kind of orangey color. I can see that these colors are really neutralizing the cobalt, so I still want to stay in that realm. I find those are kind of the most interesting, but I'll take it up a notch with a very, very bright orange. This is quite, I think, a unique color. I haven't seen it much in other brands. This is Sennelier Orange, and it's reading a little bit redder on the screen. I'll put the mixing area here so you can see. And this is just like some unremovable dirt. It's not paint, so it's not going to influence anything. So let's get into the blue. So again, I'm just touching the orange a little bit, and I think I see here a very, very slight difference. And now I want kind of, I'm aiming for a muted blue. So I can already tell, I think you can also see the difference between these two. This is more red, like this orange is redder than this one. So I might not be able to completely neutralize the colors, but rather get a purple, because there's just too much red in this mixture and not enough of the other primaries. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I think this will be kind of my middle color here. I'm not going to get, as I said, it's not going to completely neutralize, but I'm getting a very interesting, somewhat muted kind of violet. And looking at it, I can't really tell that this was made from these two colors. So that's what I love about doing these mixtures. And now I want to get kind of a very muted orange. So you can see this is, actually these mixtures are very, very interesting. Quite intense and pretty. Interesting color. And a little bit, I'll grab a little bit more of my orange and just add a little bit of it. So here you can see the difference. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 more, and then this page will be done and I can move on to the next page. The next color I decided to go with is Lukas Naples Yellow Red. It is quite an orangey yellow and it is opaque, and I just find it to do really fun stuff when it's mixed with other colors, and so you will see it featured heavily in the book just because I really, really enjoy this color. Now, other brands do, some make something similar, but I really haven't found anything quite like this. And Schmincke, for example, has a color by the same name, which is completely different. So I really, really enjoy it. I don't have a lot of Lukas paints in my palette permanently, even though it's a great brand and extremely affordable, a great choice, especially if you're in Europe. But their Naples Yellow Red and their Cobalt Turquoise, which has the look of cobalt teal, that's usually the name in other brands, those are a staple in my palette just because the cobalt is like really, really cheap, and compared to other comparable cobalts and the Naples Yellow Red, it's just really, really unique. And as you can see here also, again, the mixtures I find are really interesting. I'm usually a French ultramarine girl and not necessarily a cobalt blue girl, but I still found all these mixtures to be really interesting. And then the last color I chose was Core Transparent Pyrrole Orange, and you can see it really gives me interesting browns. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will try the same with your watercolors. Again, check out the watercolor mixing book if you want to see tons and tons more of these mixtures, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Take care. Bye bye.